It goes way deeper than that.
I think we got to the bottom of the iceberg. I would be shocked if somebody was able to, within the text of the game, go any further than we've gone.
There's a scene back at camp. Actually, I think we didn't touch on this because when you're doing CL's sort of like final, I forget what they call them, the scene where they bond, like Verso bonds with them and it gets like higher level.
Yeah, the levels.
I think one of the final ones, if not the final one, is that he like teaches her how to swim.
Oh yeah, that's towards the end.
Yeah, and then like they swim out to a little island or whatever, and helps her become more comfortable with water.
Right.
And then as part of that sequence, I believe there's a scene with her and Esquier where she talks about. It's really funny. As all the Esquier scenes are funny, but the way that she's talking about it. She's like, I'd like to talk about, that first time we met. And he's like, oh, you mean the second time we met? Because she's referring to like
the real
what you said. Right. In my remembrance of the first time I met you, which was in your cave.
Yeah.
You said that I'm not a good swimmer, or like referenced this somehow.
Yeah.
I want to know how
my terrible swimmer friend. Yeah.
I want to know how you knew that. But he's like, that's not the first time we met. That's the second time we met. Mm. So they have some like back and forth confusion on that point. But then he finally kind of reveals that when she lost her husband and her baby, she like went out to sea and was going to drown herself basically. And he came around and like rescued her and brought her back to Lumiere, to the beach.
Yeah.
So he happened upon her and helped her out. So like that's pretty nice scene. Kind of ties a little bit of a bow on her character a bit there.
Yeah.
But I think we did go through all of the other conversations like Monoko and Lune in particular, and then that ends up in Serin's dress, and she learns about her parents' expedition. And then Monoko, you help him by going to the Sacred River and reviving Noko. And Esquier, his final ones, you got to go fight Francois to get like another one of his rocks back.
Yes, that's right. With it's like drawn on, there's like an X on its face or something like that.
Yes.
Really funny.
So, yeah, that's all those. If anybody has like something in particular, again, outside of what we have already touched on that we have not, and you're like, hey, I'd like to get your thoughts on this particular element of it, feel free to leave that in the comments, and we'll do that in our final episode.
Yeah, sounds good.
Because if we didn't take notes on it, it's not because we forgot or because we missed it or something. It's just because we didn't think of something to write down as a note and discuss. But I believe that wraps up pretty much most of the major Act 3 content.
Yeah.
All the way up to the ending.
Yeah.
So we got through the ending last time, and there's a couple of things that we were able to clear up off camera about what's going on there.
in Discord, of all places,
that we wanted to kind of lay out here so that we're all on the same page for when we get into our discussions around the surrounding ethics of the choices and all of that.
Well, because the pendulum goes back and forth probably 6 times between which one is more ethical or which one you should choose. And it almost depends on which one you land at, but you can always go a little further with it. And then it's like, oh, but that pulls it the other way. Oh, shoot, but this one pulls it that way. Yeah. And I feel like I've gotten about 6 pendulums deep into Expedition 33 to where I don't know that I personally can go any deeper, but I don't know if there's any deeper to go at this point.
We've already laid out all of our assumptions about, we're assuming in our analysis of this, the painted people have souls. They're sentient. They're real people.
Yeah.
Right? So that's one assumption that we're going to hold to.
Yeah.
Now, what we were trying to work through was the nature of the fated boy and his role in the maintenance of this painted world.
Yes, because my whole thing was like, is he actively doing stuff? Because that takes the soul metaphor to another level. It seems like he is doing things and still has somewhat of a will or like feelings. Like I'm done. But it's more than just, this is the part of him that loved painting. Because otherwise, keep painting. What's the problem? Well, I only liked painting certain things, and I kind of maybe am tired. And like, there's a little more going on here than just what it seems to be presented on the surface, right?
Let's lay out all of this, because this is important.
This is very important. This is what I missed, by the way. This is what I did not understand when I formulated my ideas about the ending.
We need to understand this in order to really move forward at this point.
Yeah.
So let me give it to you as I understand it, and then I will attempt to support my understanding of it with dialogue from the game.
With scriptures
in the sacred
from
text.
the tome, yeah.
So here's how I understand it. The world of the painting is given its life by essentially the creator of the painting.
Yeah.
In this case, that would be Verso, painter Verso.
Yeah, young painter Verso.
Who was a boy when he made this canvas.
Right.
It's like most things a bit vague, but my understanding of it is that his passion was for music more so than painting. So as a boy, he painted this canvas, and as far as we know, he doesn't have other canvases that he's made. Renoir mentions in the ending that he and Aline have painted many, many canvas worlds.
Hundreds, yeah.
So the two of them have lots of different paintings, worlds they've created that they could potentially go visit, or that maybe they abandon at some point or whatever. Right. Verso, as far as we know, has this one, which would make sense as to why it's so important that it not be destroyed to Aline and Maëlle, because this faded boy represents a piece of painter Verso's soul.
His soul.
Left here. It's like the last part of his consciousness, his sentience, his being, his essence left, because he's dead and there's no other paintings where something like that would still survive or exist. Right. It's just this one, because he became a musician. So, that being said, they are mortified at the idea of this painting being erased. So, this faded boy, which we see Renoir exposes when he kind of opens the portal there at the end in Maëlle's. Well, it's before you make the choice, but it's in the ending.
Yeah.
And he says, this is what I see every day.
Yeah.
He opens a portal and you see Aline in there, sort of like dying, sick, but like in that space where that boy's soul is.
And like inconsolably sad.
Yes.
Right. She's kind of like, kind of going crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
but by the way, this is a bit of a Wizard of Oz kind of.
Yeah.
He's pulling the curtain back.
Yes.
And you're seeing the inner functionings of the world. This is the battery. This is the engine. This is the mechanism by which this world goes.
Yes.
And it's behind the curtain, and it's nobody's supposed to know or see behind the curtain. But once you see it, it's kind of like that old saying of to see how the sausage is made.
Yes.
Right. He's like, this is the disgusting truth of this canvas, basically. And he pulls back the curtain, Wizard of Oz style. And the hope is once you see it, you can't unsee it, right? Yes. You know, once you see how the sausage is made, you don't want to eat sausages anymore is the idea. I don't know if I'm quite, that squeamish. I like sausages. But that's the idea. That's what he's trying to accomplish here. And Maëlle is also trying to keep that curtain closed from everybody else as well later on in the game. But yeah, this is such an important scene when he pulls back the curtain to show the reality of the situation, right? Because all we see is Alina's in the canvas doing, and then Verso's soul is here. It's all a metaphor. But he's saying, no, it's freaking real. And this is what happens every day. This is what, and by the way, I didn't know this either before, but apparently, I don't know that this is confirmed necessarily in the game. Maybe this is deductive reasoning, but the kid is in the monolith, right? That the place where he is the place where Renoir was being trapped and the place where Alina was spending all of her time. It was in the monolith.
I'm not sure. Yeah. It might be. I just don't. I guess I haven't thought about that.
This is probably just mostly a speculation, but that's kind of something like that.
Because like the monolith didn't exist until the fracture. So
Yeah.
it could be that like wherever that place is was sort of like encapsulated inside
kind
of
of
that or something.
big walls built around it.
But the idea here is there is a living soul of sorts, even if it's
Yeah.
not like complete. That is the source of life in this painting.
It's what makes it move.
It's what
That's the word
Yeah.
for soul in Greek is anima, right? It's
Yeah.
the word animate. It's like it's what makes the movement of things happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So when he opens that and shows them, painted Verso is looking through there.
Yeah.
And you got to imagine like the conflicting feelings of painted Verso here, right?
Yeah.
Especially in light of the conversation with Monoko about new beginnings. This is something painted Verso wants. He wants a new beginning. Now, just because
Right.
painted Verso wants that does not necessarily mean painter Verso's remnant soul here wants that,
Right.
like at his core.
Yeah.
But painted Verso wants that. And he's the closest facsimile to painter Verso that we have.
Right.
He looks in there and sees that. He sees Mael lying to her father about, okay, I'll be out soon, 5 more minutes on the PlayStation, like you said last time,
Yeah.
with no intention of leaving.
Right.
Knows that Renoir's not going to stand for that eventually, and this is all going to repeat again. And we had talked about his sort of motivation for kind of flipping from being on the side of erasing the canvas at the end of Act 2 to then being with Mael's party in Act 3,
Right.
having some hope that there could be a future where the painters get the fetch out and leave us painted people alone.
Right.
That if that is a reality, that the possibility of that solution, that's something I am willing to fight for.
Right.
Seeing all of that crumble in this conversation, looking at the remnant of the soul of the person he's based on there being sort of forced to continue painting by Eileen before this and now going to be Mael, given essentially no chance at a new beginning, something he wants for sure. Right. He wants this, like, I don't want this life
Right.
anymore.
That he says that like 3 times.
Yeah, he wants something else. Now, whether you can sympathize with that sort of motive, I think would depend on many things. First of all, do you believe in an afterlife or a new beginning after death yourself?
Right. Sure.
Verso, whether he necessarily believes in that or not, I think he just is so tired of this particular life. Anything, whether it's oblivion or a new beginning, I would rather pursue that than stay here. Now,
Yeah.
he goes in there and he starts moving towards the boy, and he asserts, "You're tired of painting, aren't you?"
Yeah. But in the video, when you watch it, the kid does something possibly akin to nodding,
Yes.
right?
Yes. This is what I want to talk about.
It's a Rorschach. The whole game is a Rorschach
This
test.
was, you're correct in saying that. This right here is what I really wanted to focus on. So sorry for that long preamble to get to this.
Right.
Does that boy actually want to stop painting and die or not? It seems in the scene that he nods, yes, I'm tired of painting.
Right.
But he's not speaking. That nod
Yeah.
is communicating very vaguely a more complex motivation, I believe, which is I'm tired of watching my painting be ruined by my grieving family.
It's like, I would love to keep painting if I could keep painting the things I want to paint, which is what the kid wants to do. Theoretically, this is the part of his soul that enjoyed that. What I don't want to do is keep, like fueling or animating this world that is ripping itself apart.
Yes.
So
it's not that I'm aligned with you, painted Verso. I'm also tired of this life. I'm tired of, you saw this with the faded boy through the whole game. Every time you see him, he's sad.
yeah,
And he's
that's
like,
true.
why,
He's lamenting.
why are my family doing this?
Yeah.
Why is he's always referring to them vaguely in that sense. Why is she?
Right.
Why
His
he?
mother or his
why
sister.
are they doing this?
Yeah.
He's conflicted and torn apart and sad and depressed because his family is acting in a way that is sort of ruining this world,
Right.
And particularly the intention for which he made it.
Yeah, that's a good point because there is a longing for it to go back from the fated boy. He's like, this used to be so fun. Oh, this was so great. Oh, why can't we just go back to that, right?
Yes.
Were things like that, he wouldn't be so upset. Because remember, I kind of mentioned in that last episode, if the slave soul part of your soul always just gets sick of painting after a while, then all 100 paintings that Renoir has done has a portion of his soul that is just a freaking slave and hates painting. I think your answer addresses that problem, which is that's not it. It is the portion of him that loves painting, but it's also the portion of him that loved his family.
Yes.
And the painting is not helping his family. The painting is
ruining
his family.
Yeah,
and that's a different. That's not true in Renoir's other paintings.
Imagine it like this: something you made and that you loved is tearing your family apart.
Yeah. What would you do?
Would you, as much as you love that thing, want it to continue and tearing your family apart, or would you rather just get rid of that thing and try to like make things better?
Right.
After
a while,
that's more or less the conundrum that this remnant of Verso's soul is in. His existence is tied to it, and he loves the canvas itself, and he loves the creatures that he created and the people there. But at what cost, if this is going to perpetually be this source of just like terrible grief and pain and strife within his family? So this is what he says when you go back to Lumiere and you're kind of making your way towards the final boss. So back in Lumiere, you run into the young boy. He says, "Isn't it beautiful here? Her paintings are always astonishing, yet I wish she would understand." Luna says, "Understand what?" And young boy says, "Just what it means for me to paint." Okay, so he's being vague there. I wish Aline understood what it means, or maybe he's talking about, it doesn't matter, somebody in his family. Sure. I'm assuming it's Aline, but if that's incorrect, that's not necessarily the point.
Right.
I understand that whoever in my family I'm referring to here, I wish they understood what it means for me to paint.
Right.
Me, this remnant ghostly boy here. Right? What do you mean? The boy has gone silent. You run into him later. Maybe I should continue. Maybe I should continue. So he's like debating this. And Luna says, maybe you should. He says, yeah, if that were a choice. Then the boy has gone silent. And then one more time, here he is here doing what needs to be done. What I can't do anymore. What can't you do anymore? Yes, unless, no, maybe I should never stop, but... And then he goes silent. So this boy is clearly conflicted about whether this painting should continue or not. Right. He is not resolute on, I'm tired of painting and I want this to end.
Right.
He's actually doubting that now.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But he's also speaking about Renoir. This is the fated boy speaking about Renoir doing what needs to be done.
Right.
Like having an understanding of that.
Yeah. That's interesting.
So this really complicates
oh, yes, it does.
the whole equation here.
Yeah, yeah.
Does that boy want to keep painting or not? The answer is getting rid of his family's grief and influence and them coming in. The answer would be yes.
Yeah.
If they're going to keep fighting about it and making and ruining this place, no, he doesn't want to. That's an endless source of suffering for him in the painting to watch them doing this. It's like torture.
Right.
So we have to account, if we're going to talk about the ethics and the implications of the ending, that boy's desires himself, because his whole life and existence is what holds this canvas together. It's what gives it its life.
Right.
Without him, it ends. With him, it survives and sustains its life.
Right.
But
because it has its purpose. The purpose is him.
Even he doesn't know, like, what's right or what to do.
Yeah.
And is conflicted in his own feelings. So
I like that because that kind of, so there's two things that we can kind of rule out based on the scenario that we're seeing. This is, and these are the two things that I think still hold from my previous theories from before. That isn't nihilism, what you described.
Right.
And that isn't the kind of nihilism that would seep into other worlds and justify ending other worlds, right? That is different. Also, the fact that the other world exists, the painter's world, also precludes existentialism. I know that is kind of the way that this game was sold, and that was what most people have taken out of it. But this is a created world that exists nested within another world. Existentialism and nihilism don't really work here because they only would work if it doesn't matter what's outside of the world. It just matters that it's not nothing. That's all that matters, right? There is a purpose. The painted world has a purpose, and the world outside exists. And those two things mean nihilism and existentialism don't really make sense here. What you are dealing with is very difficult questions, which nobody questioned that in the first place. My initial reading was something along the lines of like a feminine form of Christianity, because this world seemed to have been held up and sustained by Aline. And then it seemed to afterwards have been held up and sustained by Maëlle, who is Aline's daughter, who literally has a hypostatic union of being 100% part of the outside world and 100% part of the painted world. Yeah. She is completely part of both. Completely, like without contradiction, as they say. Right. That is so weird that they pulled that off and they made that happen. And I'm just like, this is clearly a nod to Christianity, but in a way that is a feminized version of it, that her sacrifice, the way she's going to save the world is different, right? Yeah. It's different. But the introduction of this kid means that the world actually isn't. My assumption is the whole world is on Maëlle's shoulders. That's why she's getting painter sickness. She's tired. I don't have the energy. I can't do this. She's dying. And while that is kind of true, painter sickness doesn't necessarily mean that she is the one upon whose shoulders this whole world is being held up by. Yes. She is holding up all sorts of things kind of voluntarily. Yes. She has picked up things to hold that are weighing her down and will contribute to an early death. But she doesn't need to do that. And this young boy is truly the hinge point on which the whole world works. So I'm like, okay, there's this linearity of outer worlds collapsing into inner worlds, and this like structure of meaning in this beautiful way. But all of a sudden there's this like side out, which is actually it's Verso. And here's the trouble with Verso, because it's like, oh, everything still works except, oh crap. This is what the writers did, and this was what was brilliant and that I didn't pick up on until like just a couple days ago. Their world has meaning and was made for a purpose, and so there is no existentialism. You don't need to make your own meaning. The world has meaning. It's this boy and his purpose for which the world was made. But once you start explaining that to people, you run into a very large problem, which is that the God of this world is dead. Yes. And that is a huge problem. So all of a sudden we're kind of thrown into a weird existentialist, we're thrown into a weird place that's difficult to know what to do with. This is kind of very Nietzschean all of a sudden, and this harkens back to like Xenosaga with the kids running around the tree and the person under the tree. And it's just like the obliviousness to a certain very, very brutal fact. Yes. And I'm not saying this in a ChatGPT sense. The brutal reality. By the way, I did a lot of talking to AI about this, and it missed the same things I missed, which was I found to be very annoying. I will not make that mistake again. I just assumed ChatGPT was reading everything and had sifted it properly. No, it read like 6 things and then weighed them. It's annoying. Declaration that AI is not replacing humans anytime soon. It's not as good as I thought it was. It's just not. So I had missed it. And then also asking AI, have I missed anything? Well, it missed it too, and it probably missed 1,000 other things too. But it didn't tell me that it missed. It didn't know. It just was just like, oh, you're done. Everything's airtight. You're fine. I'm like, okay, great. Thanks, AI. Yeah, that was unfortunate. But the fact that the God of this world is dead is really hard to grapple with, because they have done both. They've made a meaningful world that exists on its own, that has life and beauty. in which their god has died. And what do you do about that? What do you do about that? I don't know. And we talked before about eventually the paintings will fade, like the magic will, there is an end at some point, 1,000,000 years. I don't know how long this magic works for. But chroma is a finite resource. We talked about all that. At some point, this painting is going to have serious structural and integral problems. And so I'm like, crap, that actually is a problem, because it was good that Mael came from this overworld and was like, through me, you can participate in the life of a whole dimension above where you exist. But no, it would have to be through Verso, because he's the one whose soul they have a part of too, I think. When the soul is animating things, it's kind of like a fire. You would say that, like, there's a source of something, and that the way that the life works and the way these people are alive is because they have a part of the living thing that made the canvas, right? So each of them is like part of the soul. Oh, the whole painting, everything in it is part of Verso's soul.
Yes.
In the metaphorical sense, and also probably in the literal sense, because that's how they move. Everything actually animates. And in his soul is the one that's kind of powering all of this. Like, oh, that's fascinating. That's cool. This harkens to another problem, and because you mentioned before that you don't think that Mael made great or perfect copies of the people.
Yes.
I actually came across some things that maybe
would signify that
could
she did.
Suggest otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear that, because this is still...
I know you weren't like married to it. You were just kind of, this is how I think.
This is still something that, like, because here, this is a very brief side tangent.
It's important for my theory.
The whole genocide argument of this, it's unethical because it's genocide to kill these people. I'm not even saying that. I know that sounded like I was being sarcastic or something. I just think it's a very dismissive point of, like, the rest of the context going into this.
Uh-huh.
If you're just going to, like, throw that blanket over everything and be like, if you disagree with this, then you approve genocide, I think it's a really disingenuous argument.
That would be ridiculous if the programmers made a game like that.
But everybody was gommaged at the end of Act 2.
That appears
the act of
correct.
genocide already happened.
Know, that's the thing.
Yeah. Right? So when these people are brought back, the question is, are they the same person or not?
Right.
But here's the other part of it. Does it even matter if they are? Because
it does, for one thing, I'll bring up in a minute.
That would still mean this facsimile approximation, this person's best idea of that person, made a new person. That's still a person with sentience and a consciousness. Whether it's the same person or not,
that's a good point.
It's still wrong to kill that person.
Yeah.
Right? It would still be wrong to just erase all those new people that look like the other people.
Yes.
But if they're the same person, I don't know if that necessarily changes that particular ethical conundrum.
Yeah, not really.
But it would be interesting to know whether or not there's evidence that they are the same person.
So the evidence in general, we talked a little bit about Ciel's husband, right? And now it's like, we don't know how well Mael knew him, but guaranteed it wasn't as well as Ciel knew him. And the fact that Mael can bring back people she didn't know super well, that likely suggests that she's drawing from a source, that there's a source for which these souls can be brought back, right? My suggestion is that's Verso. That's young painter Verso. That all of this is being kept in his mind, is part of his soul. And he has all the expressions that are happening out there are expressions of his soul. And he's the source from which you can extract from.
I like that, actually.
Another thing, too, is the conversation you mentioned with Ciel and Esquier. It seems as though Ciel is not very open about all this stuff that happened to her. And she's really shocked that Esquier knew and whatever. Esquier knew stuff that only Ciel knows. I'm assuming Mael didn't know them too, but I don't think it's a huge jump to say that Mael doesn't know everything about Ciel and that Ciel has some secrets that Esquier knows about. Anyway, so there's some things that Mael brought out that she didn't know about. Is kind of like where I'm going with this. And so it's like, okay, that works really well. That means that these souls, upon death, return back to the source, the
chroma stream,
the source of the chroma stream, the life stream, the Verso, the chroma stream.
I think that would be supported by the fact that in the beginning of Act 3, when Mael and Verso are sort of escaping from Renoir, this is something I missed every time I played the game. It had to be pointed out by my chat
That somebody
while I was
came
playing
and
it.
picked
Well,
up. Or?
that she, like in the act of escaping, she looks over and sees Ciel and Lune in the chroma stream. And just goes, oh, let me grab those two real quick.
That's right.
And
That's
then
right.
goes and repaints
that was brought
them.
up. Yeah.
Right, in the camp scene after that.
Right.
So, like, she was able to, like, locate their consciousness in that sort of chroma stream and Lumiere and, like, pick them up and, like, then go paint them again. So that's interesting that if a faded boy soul, Verso, is the one who... from which these people were born in the first place.
Right, and to which they go when they die.
Right, that he's the source, then they could be retained as they are.
As they were, yeah. And also with the world, Mael can remake the world, even parts she hadn't seen before, as it was instead of as she would like it to be. Maybe make a nice bridge all the way to the Eiffel Tower so you don't have to, and of course that brings into Clea's idea of like painting over and like how that's hard to do, I guess. They just kind of stated out there, probably to deal with this exact problem, where it's like, okay, but look, only Cleo could do that, or it would probably be better if they said no one could do that, but oh well. They had to have a little arc with Cleo and her little monstrosity that she made in her, so... Basically, and then there's also the problem that I mentioned, I think last episode about, but I'll probably cut it so it doesn't matter. I mentioned a problem last episode too about the fact that if Mael leaves, she can just go into a new canvas and just paint all the memories again. She wouldn't actually be losing anything. Well, it's like, I don't think she can. I don't think she can.
If what you're saying is the case, then she can't.
She needs Verso's soul.
Verso,
it is required, which means that Verso is the one that has all
this I think that's rock solid.
Yeah,
that actually
gets
makes
rid of
a
that
lot
problem
of
now
sense
too.
to me. And that would mean people could get brought back just as they were. So in Mael's ending, when you're seeing Lune and Ciel and Gustave and others, they are resurrected as the same human being.
Yeah.
And that would track because the reason why she shouldn't or wouldn't have been able to repaint Gustave is because that chroma is like not available to her because it's a resource being fought over and sort of controlled by the Nevrons when they kill.
That's right.
The people's bodies kind of turn into stone and sort of trapped in them.
Freeze.
And that's how they're keeping the chroma from being fed back to Alina, who can use it in her powers of like, being the most powerful goddess of the painting. So they were limiting the flow of chroma back to her by using Nevrons to kill expeditioners and kill other people. Whereas gamaging was a different thing. That was like a true erasure. So that complicates it though, because Sophie was gamaged.
She was
and
gamaged.
Gustave was not.
Well, maybe when anyone dies, they go back to the source. The consciousness goes back to
but I
the
wonder
source
if,
where
I wonder
it
if
came from.
gamaging is different because the chroma is actually truly erased.
For me, I'm actually separating chroma from his soul. I in order for this to work, I have to separate the soul, which is infinite, which is like a fire that you can spread, or it can be as big or small as it needs to be. Just because you're only 1/1,000,000th of Verso, because he made 1,000,000 things, it doesn't mean you're only 1/1,000,000th of soul. You're still one full soul.
Sure,
right?
I agree with that.
Whereas chroma is finite, right? So it's like I have to make a difference between those two. That the Verso is the source of chroma, which is the paint that he had used, right? Yeah. But only that he retains control over, however the magic works of the canvas. But that the soul that animates things is not finite. It's something that can keep. You can be 1/1000,000th of a soul. You'll still be one whole soul.
One person.
Yeah. So that's where I would make a difference there. That the way they die is different. I believe, didn't the paintress do that so that Renoir couldn't get their chroma or something like that? Or no, Renoir's the one that does that.
I think Renoir is the one gamaging, and she's trying to stop him doing
but
that.
But Renoir gamaged everything, and Mael brought it back. So
it remains.
I don't know that it matters that much how they die. Except that the Nevrons make a reservoir that you can extract chroma from, whereas the other one does not.
I'm going to, for the remainder of this discussion, assume that gamaging, while maybe the intention is to erase that totally, that because Verso's soul remains in the painting, it can still be brought back. So we're operating on a new assumption moving forward. These people are literally the same consciousness reborn. I like that.
Yes,
I think
it's like a wave
clean
existence that spills out, but it doesn't lose anything.
I think it's a clean theory, and it also adds to why it is so important that Mael cannot just go make these people in another canvas.
That's the biggest problem. Because what other than on Verso, I get that, but just use your memories. If you're that deluded, just use your memories and paint another fake young Verso and go live in that one, you know? It's like, no, only this is unique to Verso. It has to be here because the soul is here, right?
So when painted Verso goes into that space where Faded Boy is painting on the ground, and he's like kind of trying to pick him up and take him away from the painting. In Verso's ending, he just takes his hand and they walk away. And then everything starts being disintegrated, essentially.
Right.
So the act of that boy quitting the painting process ends the world.
Yeah.
So it's
an active thing.
He's going to like grab his hand and take him away, and Mael swings her sword to stop him. Like, so she understands, like, you cannot stop that boy from painting. That's going to erase everything.
Yeah.
And I can't just go on another canvas and bring it all back.
Yes.
Because that boy has to be the source of it.
Yeah.
So that would make that all feel really clean to me.
Yeah.
So I'm on board with that interpretation.
We've cleaned up the edges, which then swings the pendulum back though, because the ending I initially thought where Mael's sustaining the world, becomes one of, well, let Mael, this is her creation now. She has taken stewardship and she is now the owner of this canvas. But
only in the demiurgic sense.
Exactly, I know that's the thing because the wave exists. The true sword. A lot of this language is thanks to our Discord as well.
Yeah.
We speak in Xenogears terms. This is what we do, guys. That there is a separate source that both Aline and Mael were ignoring in their pursuit of creation, all of this kind of stuff. But that young Verso did used to belong to this world. Okay, so anyways, this brings us a little closer to Verso's ending. But I'm gonna throw another. We can go one more level deep, and then we're as deep as I think can be gone. All right. But this isn't as definitive as what I was saying. Like, oh no, Mael is, like in Milton. Milton wrote Paradise Lost. And one of the ideas in that is that God owes his creation a love that like, if you make something, if you have life, if you bring life into this world, you have an unwritten obligation to care for it. Basically, that's like the idea. That's you can go from a family having a kid to like this massive being a god making a world. Do not do this whimsically, right? Do not bring life into the world that you say, whoops, oh no, that was a mistake, and then just let me step out of that, right? That is ethically what's the word? Unacceptable, something like that. So we have to operate on those functions, that this is life, right? These are lives, right? And that, even if Mael is being demiurgic, if she is sustaining their existence in some deep way, that she made a choice to do this, she has to see it through. These are real people. You're not playing a game.
Yeah.
But if she can step out and think and the continuation happens, she doesn't need to be there.
Yes.
That is you mentioned this in the car when we were going to California, and that I just had trouble kind of thinking about that. Like, wait a second. If she doesn't need to be there, she just shouldn't be there.
Yes.
But unless to visit, and definitely not to screw things up, right?
Not to
you want to preserve
the painting
things.
Or to try to control it.
Yes.
Which is, in the end, what she's doing.
She is trying to live her own fantasy where she isn't burned, and it's a tough situation. I feel for her, I really do. But that's not the way that she's trying to escape, basically.
Yes.
So here's where we can go another level deeper, and it is with that word soul. And this is, I don't know that this gets us all the way, because I'll bring up the huge caveat here that still means, pick either side. It doesn't matter. Unfortunately, that's where it takes us. But the soul is a real thing in this world. In the world of Expedition 33, the painter's world, the soul is a real thing, right?
Yeah.
Not just that it latently exists, but that it does stuff. That does not prove an afterlife. It does, however, suggest that in the way that the painted people, when they die, have a reservoir, a source that they came from and to which they return to, that in the world of the painters, that could also be the case, because a soul is not the way that we understand soul, and the reason why people don't know, do you have a soul or not? Do you believe in it or not? I don't know. In this world, a soul exists. Souls exist, and they do things, right? So it's like, okay, now that brings us to the real possibility of something like an even higher world than the painter's world.
Sure.
Another level up, a real actual wave existence kind of thing. I say actual. I don't know how many levels it goes. But
I'm going to throw this out for Beardmo's sake. I kind of touched on this last time, but if you're a fan of the Myst games, you will know that this may have been inspired by the sort of, what would you call it? The world structure of the Myst games, or the Myst universe. That there's more than just these two levels, is nested what I'm talking about.
Well, this is one of the issues with simulation theory, that people say, if we on Earth are capable of making a convincing simulation like the Matrix, this is Murphy's Law. If it can happen, it will happen. But if there is only one real world, but a trillion fake ones that look just like it, how do you know which one you're in? You know,
right.
So if it's possible, the likelihood is overwhelming. You're already in one. That's one of the ideas. Okay, well, let's take that logic here to the painter's world. If the world of the painted world really does resemble, with human souls, with true reality, with life, that way that we understand it, then what is the likelihood that the painter's world is really the only one and is not, there's nothing above it or adjacent to it? Pretty low, right? If that's possible, it's okay, go all the way up. So, souls are a real thing and they actually exist. That means that these souls, when Verso takes them in the memory, this is one of the importance of Mael's ending, when they're at the funeral and she looks up and she still sees her friends in the air above her.
Yep.
They fade, though. I don't know what that means. Are they gone forever at that point? Or she can remember them, but they're gone. She can't ever really repaint them. She can never do them justice, right? But she keeps them in her mind. She carries them with her, and she certainly carries many of their burdens with her now, because she just had to end real lives, or she had to witness the ending of real life that she is partially responsible for continuing in order to get back out of the canvas. I don't know what kind of trauma that does to you, especially in the belief that these are real people. But she's carrying their burdens and their memories with her in a somewhat visible way. Like I see them, there they are. But she can't do anything with that, right? They're kind of stuck. Well, Verso, and I mentioned before that she's the bridge between two worlds. Well, if we say that Verso was, before he died, something like a bridge between two worlds, but now wherever his soul goes, these other souls are part of his soul. And that soul now then goes to its source, but through the bridge, through the hypostatic union, this is Christian theology, but through the joinder of his soul, where the source that soul then goes to becomes the source from which everything goes. This is the reason for all the Christian theology. This is what St. Augustine was talking about. Like everything he wrote. This is it.
It brings it all back to Xenogears again. This is the idea of becoming one with God and then going with God to God's dimension.
And so it's like you're island hopping.
That's essentially what the wave existence offered to
Krellian?
To Krellian, and Krellian accepted that.
Yeah, he's like dope.
And Faye rejected it and went back to the world, right?
To the painting,
but
to keep it going.
This is an interesting idea because again, it complicates this idea that if Fated Boy dies, that all of these living things, him being God, would go with him into the new beginning.
I don't see how they wouldn't, because they're all part of him, right?
Yeah.
They're part of his soul. One of the things that would probably have to happen is a judgment or a culling or that wasn't me. I didn't make those Nevrons. You know what I'm saying?
The Nevrons aren't his. That's true.
Exactly.
That's Cleo's.
There are parts of this painting that will be deemed unworthy of re-entrance back into the source, if that makes sense.
Sure.
There are certain parts of it that are like that. That's not what I'm not bringing all the misery with me. I'm taking the parts of me that fit, right? The parts that fit that worked towards the purpose for which I made this. Maybe not everything fits, right? It all came from him. Maybe it all goes back to him, Nevrons and all. I don't know, but Obviously, with Clea, I'd have to think of something else. Something else bad that's not in everyone's, but that he made, or that he had something to, or that was made through his power. But I would assume that something like these parts of you don't belong, but the true center, which is the soul from which you came from, that can come back. But the other stuff doesn't come with me, right? I don't even know how you do that. I guess just in your mind, it would be pretty easy to just like, I'm forgetting all that stuff. But either way, okay, so you've got that, and then it kind of goes up from there. That brings us to another conundrum, which is what you had already mentioned. They've already been gommaged.
Yes.
Mael brings them back, but the thing already happened. Okay, she brought them back. I get that. And that was probably the right thing to do at the time, especially her state and everything that happened. If you can bring things, if you can undo a genocide, it's probably a good thing to act on that.
Yeah, I'd say I'd do that without reservation.
Exactly. I'm trying to like justify it ethically. I think it works. But if you choose Renoir's ending, the souls still go back to Verso. I said Renoir's ending, Verso's ending. If you choose Verso's ending, the souls still go back to Verso, wherever that then goes from there, wherever his spirit then goes. You choose Mael's ending, the same thing probably eventually still happens, right? That Mael, like they showed her at the ending there, like she has painter sickness. Renoir said, every day we spend in this painting has a price.
She can't stay
going to stay here forever.
Yeah.
And the more she kind of ruins things, the higher likelihood is, first off, that Renoir is going to destroy the painting, or that Verso is going to just, in and of himself, just get up and walk out and say, I'm done. Especially because she says, this is nothing we didn't talk about. She says to Verso, if you could grow old, would you find a reason to smile?
Right.
It's possible that she did allow Verso, older Verso, to die in her new fantasy world. Maybe not, though. You know, it'd be really funny.
Well, he comes and plays the piano.
He does,
end,
but what if he gets to be like 90 and he's like about to die, and Mael's like, oh, this new technology just came, and like, what if Keith's his
life
extension stuff comes? Oh no, oh sorry, Verso, he's 200, yeah, and then he's 200, and it's like, oh, new breakthrough. Sorry, you're still just getting older. Who knows if Mael would be good on her word to really let Verso go?
Yes.
Because her whole point is, my brother died because of me. My goal is to keep him alive now, right?
Yeah.
That's her whole like kind of modus operandi here. So she's not going to let him die. But she says she will. Maybe she does. Who knows? We don't really know. But at the very least, she's going to die. So and if Verso's still around when she's gone, we know what Verso's going to do, right? And so, or Renoir, or whoever it is. Like at some point, either the painting all goes back to normal, or it doesn't. We don't know. We just don't know. It's a contingent on too many possibilities. The likelihood is, at some point, the whole painting fades anyways. All the souls go with Verso, and he goes to join the wave existence, wherever souls come from in the painter's world.
Yeah.
And that's what I can infer based on the stuff that the game kind of gives me. So in that case, either ending is still plausible, but that would push me towards Mael's ending more.
Yes.
What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find
Decide
almost an
which
excuse to choose Mael's ending, because it's the one I didn't choose last time.
Yeah.
Every time I'm like, oh, I did it. Mael's ending's the right one. It's like, no, it always goes back to Verso. But in this case, it's like, okay, just because souls are going to die anyways doesn't mean you cut them off short, right? That's a principle of life.
Yeah.
I'm
going to die at some point doesn't mean it's okay to just like
it's
kill
okay
me
to chop you down.
Whatever, right?
So that's the
not
ethical
a justification
situation
for killing.
So
obviously.
You have to have a hope that things will end up okay if life is allowed to continue. You have to have that hope. And that hope is what nudges me over to Mael's ending in the final. When all is said and done, I say, I have a hope that humans can live a meaningful life, and that the fact that everything might end does not mean we end it before it needs to end, and that Mael's grief cycle just needs to be borne through, and it may kill her, but in the end, these people deserve a good God. And I don't know if Mael's going to be a good God. I don't know, but once again, we go back to Aquinas or Augustine. Being itself is good. This is Plotinus. And so you have to give being a chance before you jump to non-being too quickly. So that's my ending. I picked Mael's ending.
I think that's very, very well articulated.
But it was not freaking easy. And that's about as far as I can go. Pendulum 6 times, I think. And finally, maybe 5 times.
It's very well articulated, very well argued. We do, unfortunately, have to rest on certain assumptions.
I know,
to get
too
there.
many. Well, like one or two too many.
There
I
are
think.
too many things that
Yeah.
we're assuming are true for the sake of us landing somewhere
Yeah.
that we don't know for sure. We don't know for sure that souls do go back to Verso. We don't know that if his soul dies, that there is a new beginning and they go with him. We don't know those things.
Right.
But if we assume those are true, then it helps sort of like get through this quagmire of freaking ethical conundrums. Now,
It's just the word soul. It's like, well, if the game takes souls as being a thing, maybe I'm just putting my theology into it too much, but that seems reasonable enough to me.
yeah. I want to re-emphasize, I think both endings are nightmarish.
Yes.
I think they're both really bad.
Yeah, it's in between hell and
Yes,
oblivion.
I still think that's the case.
No.
Now, but with that added caveat, this whole new element of the theory you've introduced, it's not necessarily oblivion,
Right.
right?
It would
It's
be
just a new beginning.
Yes, sure. Yes, because the soul. Well, I still think you'd have to buy into the soul thing, though.
Yeah, you do. Yes.
But the souls go back to the source, and that's okay. That's home.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
home, right?
Yes.
And that it's not actual nihilism. It's not complete
actual
oblivion. Yeah.
So if you want to feel good about Verso's ending, that's the assumption you have to make.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's oblivion and it's a nightmare. On the Mael side, you have to have faith that she's going to get over this grief and make the right choice to not manipulate the painting on her whims. You have, in order to think that that's going to be any sort of positive solution, you have to assume she's a teenager. She's going to grow older and wiser. She'll figure it out. Renoir and Aline will talk about it and come up with a good way to reach their daughter. And
hopefully keep the canvas
point
too.
in the future,
Yeah.
they can allow the canvas to survive, and they can just use it in a healthy way to process their grief. Instead of, you have to have faith in that in order for you to justify that being a good ending. Because the alternative to that is those people are damned to live under the whims of a demiurge, a false god who is making, as a slave, the true god to continue painting her fantasy.
Yeah.
So those are the upsides and downsides of both. Really is what you're looking at.
It could get really bad. But another idea, and this does come from St. Augustine, is he would say being is good. Being is better than non-being, even if your being is in hell, basically.
Yes.
Now, it's just because he said it doesn't mean anything. But he was, I have a lot of respect for Augustine, and I would have to say that his assumption he's making is that being is good. Right.
Yes.
Being is good because his reasoning is actually even Plotinus. Plotinus was not a Christian.
Right.
He was a Neoplatonist, you would say. Neoplatonic kind of theory mostly comes from Plotinus. He believed that. He operated from that same assumption. We have to assume that being is good, right? From that assumption, everything else follows. But the assumption is that being is better than non-being. And that in that case, hell is better than oblivion.
Right.
That's an assumption, but it's an assumption that comes from a reasonable place of wanting to see the best in the universe, to see the best in the world, instead of it may be against evidence in some cases, and that's where you bring it. You got to have faith. The whole purpose of that Mael ending is a faith, a hope that might even be completely blind to the reality, to the facts, but nevertheless might have a 1 in a million. So you're telling me there's a chance of coming true. And if there's even the possibility, we have to let that happen for the sake of life itself, because life is good and being is good, all that kind of stuff.
The way that these endings are presented, I'm talking about music choice, cinematography, general tone.
Yeah.
It does not lend itself to feeling like there's much hope for those things in the endings.
Nope.
It comes across as being really dark.
You've got to be freaking
sinister.
Sam Gamgee on the slopes of Mount Doom to really actually think that anything good can come of this. But there's still
the
a
way
chance.
Mael's ending plays out musically, the
jump
expressions
scare.
on the face,
Yeah, the
the
faces.
horror of like her eyes and the sickness.
Yeah, Verso, kind of like arthritis. Like, I'm sick of
He's
this.
obviously not enjoying
Dude.
the one thing that was his greatest passion, which is music.
So, but what? Think about young Verso.
Yeah.
The one thing this is the part of his soul that loved painting,
And now
they ruined it for him.
He's being enslaved.
Now
and
we have
forced.
Verso. The one thing he loves is music, and she's ruining that for him.
Yes.
What is the likelihood she's not just ruining everything, right?
Yes. I mean, at the point we leave in the ending, she is ruining it.
Yeah, the
and
hope
she's
is
going
very
to, and those people are eventually going to uprise and be freaking sick of that.
They will turn on her. They might even turn on young Verso.
That's what it's hinting at with its tone.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's impossible that at some point Renoir and Aline come back and Aline saves her the way she saved Renoir in a previous canvas he talked about.
Oh, that's right. So you got to keep that hope alive.
So there is a possibility for that to happen.
Yeah.
In the even dark interpretation
of Mael's
ending.
Yeah.
That's still a possibility.
Yeah.
If you're going with the dark interpretation of the nihilistic oblivion of Verso's ending, there is no chance for such a thing to happen at any point. So that's worth considering. Now, all of that being laid on the table, the first time I played the game, I thought that these were just really realistic NPCs.
Me too, because that's what they are.
I thought the story was a story about addiction and grief being
the stages of
grief. Where you don't get out of it because you stay in that denial state forever.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was about.
It is still kind of about that.
It's in part about that, but there's much more to that.
It goes quite deeper.
It goes way deeper than that.
I think we got to the bottom of the iceberg. I would be shocked if somebody was able to, within the text of the game, go any further than we've gone.
So I chose Verso's ending mostly because in my just emotional reaction to Verso's pleas of wanting to not continue in this life, I just deeply understood that pain.
Yeah.
And it seemed to me that this was all happening in a hyper-realistic video game, and turning the video game off is not wrong.
Yes.
But now, obviously, we've learned that's not the case.
Yeah.
So in having talked through all of it the way we just had, and making the assumptions that I've listed along the way that we're making, Eileen Mael, simply for the fact that Aline will have time, and I have way more trust in her than in Renoir.
She will
have a better approach. Well, maybe not though. There's an argument against that because she blamed Mael for the fire. So there's possibly some like resentment there where she might not be the right motherly figure to come in and like help her. So you have to have faith that she'll overcome that too. Or that they won't get divorced in the real world, or that you have to have a lot of faith in things going right.
You have to have a lot of faith.
In order for this not to turn into a hell that ends up being Mael against the painted people.
But that's the thing. If we're going to pit like philosophers again with both endings, if I'm going to say Verso's ending is Camus and it's Jean-Paul Sartre, it's a little bit of Nietzsche or Arthur Schopenhauer, that's who we got for Verso's ending if you're looking for a justification of picking that ending. What we've got on Mael's ending is Saint Augustine, Saint Thomas Aquinas, Plotinus, and beings of highly religious significance.
Yeah.
But you know what's weird? What I've noticed is that the division of people who pick one side or the other doesn't appear to me on lines of faith.
Necessarily, yeah.
But following the reasoning, I would say that is it. The justifications are on lines of faith. You know, being is good is not something Nietzsche said, or Camus even. Camus' whole thing is, you're in hell, but have you tried enjoying hell? Like, okay, that's sort of Mael's ending in a weird, but not in the hopeful, this can be good way. Camus is different in that regard. He's existentialist, right? It's a whole different thing. With Mael's ending, it's you got religious figures to look for in the justification of it, and it'll be interesting to hear people's thoughts about that in the comments, because like, I don't believe in God, but I picked Mael's ending. Like, that's fine, whatever. I told you the pendulum's gone back and forth a bunch of times for me. There's different reasons to end on Mael, but the deepest I can go, and that's where the pendulum ended up when I got to the bottom of whatever I can get to. You know, pending in 10 years some developer reveals a new secret about the world that nobody knew, or there's a sequel to the game that is a direct continuation. Who knows? But at the moment, this is as deep as I can go. But it'll be interesting to hear people's thoughts on that, because the justifications are pretty clear on each one, and the philosophers behind the justifications are pretty clear on each one too.
Yeah.
That you have basically the nihilists versus the Christians.
All of this to say, you can mental gymnastics your way to whatever ending you want.
It's true.
But what I haven't enjoyed seeing are people making blanket dismissals on the opposing answer as if it's very clearly that one is.
Yeah, it's not.
The maybe even if you were to go as far as it's just the lesser evil or the greater of the two.
Yeah.
They both have, I think, tremendous, sad, depressing cons to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And both of them have hope for something else.
You're right, actually.
If you choose to have faith in that ending leading to that hopeful resolution.
Was it Stan brought up the possibility of,
laws being
something like
something
that.
like a painted People's Rights Act,
right?
Or should we even be painting these canvases with?
Right.
Are we? Is it just for us, these imperfect humans, to create worlds that we can cause so much suffering to?
And Milton would say no. The Gnostics would say, please don't. And then, but I thought that was fascinating. That's a hopeful reason to pick Verso's ending, where it's like, okay, wow, that's something I certainly had not considered before. That turns into a bureaucratic nightmare on its own.
Yes,
but
it
at
does.
least there's hope that something. Once again, it's almost like no matter what you pick, there's not much hope. But there is a sliver. And do you focus on the light and the darkness, or do you just allow the darkness to envelop you?
I don't know if there's for those who would argue against this idea of like, oh, you're going to try to create laws to like govern this. Well, then when does that stop? And where do these lines get drawn? And that gets so messy and blah, blah, blah. All that's true. But I think you have to approach everything in life knowing you cannot eliminate suffering. All you can do is reduce it as much as you possibly can.
That's right.
You can promote the well-being of people and reduce suffering as much as you are capable of doing.
But everything has a trade-off.
And that is a noble goal, even though we all acknowledge suffering cannot be eliminated. And just because it cannot be eliminated by laws doesn't mean we shouldn't regulate things to limit or to reduce it in some form, and rather than letting it run the way that it is. Again, it's really easy to dismiss things that aren't like the final solution, but there is no such thing.
No.
There is no such thing as a perfect solution that will end all suffering. We are in the situation we're in. Canvases exist. People paint them. I don't think we're ever going to stop that from happening. The toothpaste is out of the bottle. At this point.
You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
But we need to at least limit, reduce as much as we are capable the suffering of those and the harm we cause those painted people, because those are living beings. And we can't have people going around painting hellscapes where the people are just made to suffer and be tortured.
Just thinking about that world, you can imagine some very dark places that people would paint. Where they would be like, they would get to live their fantasies at the expense of real people. Yeah. It's like, that's a world I don't want to be any part of.
I mean, like, the real answer is, and this is kind of just my big takeaway from the thing, people should not have the power of gods.
I agree.
We shouldn't have the power.
We aren't there, man.
We shouldn't have the power to create worlds and
then destroy them on a whim.
Make them to our whims to satisfy our own fantasies.
Yeah. We can't do that.
We shouldn't have that power. We are not capable.
This is like Carl Jung wrote the book Memories, Dreams, Reflections. I think it was Carl Jung. Either way, he wrote a book after the atomic bombs had gone off, basically saying this exact thing. Like, wow, we have achieved godlike power, but we have nowhere near godlike wisdom. Like, God help us, basically.
Yeah.
This is not a great situation to be in. And so until we can achieve wisdom to the level of the power that we have achieved, the power will just ruin us, basically. So it's a similar argument. By the way, I almost wonder if Camus would have picked Miles' ending, because it's like Sisyphus, just like do whatever. Because Camus, the whole purpose of his myth of Sisyphus is to keep you from ending yourself.
Playing video games. It shouldn't be hilarious to imagine them playing video games, because the entire purpose of our podcast is to show that games can have the same level
meaningful and
of high art
artful
as the things they talked about.
You're right.
But
it's funny in an ironic sense.
Dude McGuy is saying this, and I think we'll leave off because because we actually did turn this into its own full episode. I still lean to the Verso ending because assuming Renoir and Aline will bond together and become good parents again for the sake of saving Maël seems unlikely to me. It's true. It also seems unlikely that Maël is ever going to leave this canvas and that she will not cause a hellscape again where she becomes the next paintress that the people want to kill. And
that will guarantee that.
And that they'll just live in this hell that she makes for them.
But if we're going to assume that these are real people, they're going to kill Maël. At some point, they're going to be like, you're the cause of all of our suffering.
Yeah.
And then she'll have to sequester herself on, a monolith of sorts and kind of rule from there, but the resource is finite and she'll make the decision on who gets the chroma and who doesn't. And they'll just hate their lives and try to kill her. It's like, it's all the same thing is going to happen.
Yeah.
No
Because
different.
They will at some point discover that she's not God.
Yes.
She's a demiurge.
And they'll be like, she's keeping us.
She has
from
enslaved their God.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, they'll be pissed.
Right? And
but here's the thing. Even after they kill her, if they could get to him, they might eventually turn on young Verso too, because he's just a kid. He's just a person. But anyways, that maybe wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
This is a really fun game.
I love this game.
That we get to talk about it a lot.
This game.
And I'm actually glad.
Good.
Every time the pendulum went one way, I thought I had isolated that ending at the exclusion of the other ending. They did such a good job in this game at creating a situation that was very, like I mentioned, it has the Christian themes, but in a more on the Gnostic end of
side
things.
of it, yeah.
Where it's just like, man, they did such a good job of slowly revealing the there are no solutions, only trade-offs like ending here.
Yes.
And it's like, which trade-off are you going to make? And I thought I had caught them once or twice. And ChatGPT helped me think that I had caught them once or twice. But they did a great job. I have no issues with the way that the script was written. I want to know more, but that is their prerogative to reveal as much as they would like to reveal.
Yeah.
Just what a treat to play the game, and how interesting I finally was able to inch myself towards Maël's ending, because I did not think that was possible when I first played the game.
Yeah, it shows the level of depth to which they thought everything through. And the more you dig, it's like the more like, well, what about that? Well, what about that? And you have to work through like layers and layers of freaking problems.
Yeah, and each one moves the pendulum the other way.
Yeah, to get to a place where you can feel semi-confident. And even then, you are only doing that because you've made assumptions to get there. But that's good. I mean, that opens up this sort of dialogue that you can go really deep into, and that you can challenge your own assumptions and beliefs about things. And
I've had this weird thought for a long time that this game actually kind of solidified in my mind. And it is actually just about God in general. But it's the idea that God has to be perfect if he is to exist, or if we are to accept him. That anything less, it's a Gnostic dilemma. It's a demiurge. There's a problem. I remember thinking, because I remember hearing, this is like 25 years ago, someone say, I would not worship a God if they were not perfect. And I was like, well, I don't know, if they're like really super crazy powerful, I'd be like, all right, you're it, I guess, like if they're like way beyond me, and can do things and help and are good and whatever, it's like, whatever, I'll worship that. Like I've had that kind of thought in my mind before of like, I don't know that I care whether or not this being has to be perfect or not. This game has kind of opened my eyes that like, wow, perfection or bust, right? Like God has to be the absolute best, most perfect thing that exists. Any less, we won't. I don't know that I really, when all is said and done, can actually abide by that, by anything less. Because the commitment that a God any God requires is, or the
to be perfectly just, to never make a mistake. You'd have to be incapable of those things in order for this thing to be ethically justified at all.
That's it. In order to justify it in any way,
or the reality of godhood is a inherently unjust thing unless such a being exists.
I think that's where for the moment, that's where I've come to.
Yeah.
And that's not how I would think before. I've heard a lot about like process theology, or God is in becoming. He's a God in making. He's learning and growing with us as we all. And there is, I'm not saying that's or that you can't think that, or that that's not supported by the Bible. It actually seems to be something like that might even be supported scripturally. But philosophically, it's like, oh, but perfection has to be I just don't know that I would be so excited to follow a God that is kind of just feeling his way through things.
Yeah. Unless you're just going to be accepting of that point, and then God's judgments are made on account of
Another
his understanding of his own mistakes.
Oh,
Does that make
but
sense?
that would be
Right.
hearkening to a greater spirit.
Yes,
In my
which would mean that it's
mind,
still a Gnostic
it's a subservient God, yeah. But you're right. If okay, this was okay. I didn't even bring this up. I didn't, and we almost got through the whole thing, and I didn't bring this up. But there is an idea with Mael that I called, and I'll just say whatever I said before because this isn't my whole ending anymore because it doesn't work. But I had the idea that Mael's ending can work if Mael becomes a saint. That is the idea. And a saint being a mediator who points above it.
Yes.
Right? Something that acknowledges its own shortcomings, but then reveals a path to a higher way of being, to a higher being, or to something like that. If Mael becomes a saint, then her ending is completely justified. All else, everything else is forgiven, because she then says, I'm not the end-all be-all for your world. I am pointing to what is. I am showing you the thing that can... that is your source of meaning and purpose and the reason for which you were made and what in which you live and breathe and have your being, that whole thing, right? If she's honest about that and doesn't block it and cops up to her own mistakes, that's a different story.
Yes.
It's a whole different story.
And doesn't use the canvas for her own fantasy.
Yes, and really gives herself to the people. It seems like she's giving herself to the people by taking on this burden and not having them die. But really, she's got she's
doing it for herself.
Her own motivations.
She wouldn't have killed Painted Alicia otherwise.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. She would have, let's work, let's live here together, because that's what she's saying for everyone else. But it seems like those hidden motivations are what she will need to lay bare. She will have to be maybe not perfect, but at least perfectly honest.
Yes.
And you're right. That's a good, and Alfred North Whitehead, who's the big, what would you call him? Process theologian kind of guy, is great, has some really cool writings that I really identify with and think could possibly be true. But there at least has to either be that perfection of being or perfect honesty in what might be something else beyond it, or something like that. But at the very least, I require one of those two, because what Mael will do is hide what is behind the curtain, and not really allow anyone to see it.
To her whims.
But if she does allow that, then that means that the people now know, she's not it, but she still has the power to shape the world. Like, that's just a power humans can't resist using.
They can't.
And so
even far less power than that. I would say just the powers, the ultimate powers that we humans in the real world can even achieve, which is
like being
things like head of state or whatever, is already too much. It's demonstrated over and over and over and over again.
All the time.
That every time those fetchers get in power, they just do not do anything in interest of people at all.
This is true.
They do it in interest of themselves and the people who helped them get there.
And there's two ways to think about it. Either, how would you be if you got there, right? And that's the hardest one for me to think of, because I don't know, right? I remember thinking like, oh, dude, I should run for president one day, and just like, it'd be funny or whatever. Like, what if people vote for me? That's not fair. I can't, that would be akin to me creating a world with no idea of what I'm going to do. Who do I appoint to the 500 cabinet positions, or whatever, how many there are? My friends? I don't know anybody. I would have to go on my advisors, the advisors who have their own ideas. Anyways, I've thought of this, and it can go, what would I do in those positions? I don't freaking know. But it probably the same thing that literally every other leader does. So it's like, okay, then maybe the power itself is the problem. Maybe the One Ring cannot be wielded by mortals, or immortals. Saruman would have been pretty bad too.
Yeah, that'd also be bad. That'd be worse.
Would also be bad, as Gandalf said. Or Galadriel. But anyways, the mediator ending I thought was very good. It's just that Mael would be pointing above, and now it seems Mael is pointing sideways. And I'm like, crap, that's different, because it's young Painted Verso. Mael isn't the one who can save these people. She can't save them. But she needs to point to the one who can, because it's a person and it exists. And
it's her brother, the one that she actually is trying to...
And it's the purpose for which the world has its existence. You can't just ignore that.
Yeah.
Yet that seems to be what everyone's intent on. SKA knows everything, by the way. SKA knows young painted Verso, and he knows everything, right?
Yeah.
And he's special. I get it, but he's cool with it.
Yeah.
He's just like, yeah, my purpose is to, partake in the reality of young little child Verso. Once again, there's the scripture of such is the kingdom of heaven, of children, right?
Children.
And here's the question: how many children would pass a theology test, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost
or an ethics.
Yeah,
board.
God. Okay, well, gosh, my kids can be so brutal sometimes. It's so bad. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe it. But the idea that heaven is people who can't pass a theology test, like that, that is basically what Christ is saying. There's something really deep there that this game is showing, while also being like, yeah, but he's dead. And now what are you going to do, right? We did this whole Christian thing. We Gnosticized it a little, and then we Nietzsche'd it pretty hard at the end. And now what are you going to do? And I'm like, hey, there is still hope.
Yeah.
Yet even now, the quest is on the edge of a knife.
Yeah.
Stray but a little, and it will fall. But hope remains.
Well,
so long as we are true
to ourselves
and to each other, and to the realities above and below us.
To each other.
Another thing I wanted to bring up with the saint ending for Mael, or the mediator ending, is the analogy that Renoir gives about art. Good art is both a window and a mirror. By participating in the world with the people and suffering with them, but also pointing above her, Mael becomes something of a window and a mirror. She is a window through which they can glimpse the world above. But she's also a mirror in that they see themselves reflected in her because she is one of them. This is part of the hypostatic union trait that she carries.
All right, everybody.
This was way longer than I thought it would be.
Yeah, this is going to be its own episode. We will have one more episode on Expedition 33 that will be going over the dev history of the game and how the game was
I keep
made.
forgetting we didn't do that.
Yeah, we didn't do that at the beginning this time. So we'll have one more, and then it'll be wrapped up for good.
What a fun ride, though.
There may be a break, like a 1 week break, where we do another episode in between, but this one shouldn't take like as long to get to as the break we took between Act 2 and Act 3.
Yeah.
So see you next time. Peace out.